So today we'll do the ninth chapter, which is demand. We have already studied about needs and wants in lesson 2. To satisfy these wants, you buy goods and services from the markets. So we have needs and wants, like we have a need to satisfy our hunger, we have a need to satisfy our thirst, and to satisfy the needs and wants, we buy goods and services from the market. So to satisfy our hunger, we buy food grains, we buy vegetables, milk, and so on. So we buy them from the market. We buy goods and services by paying different prices. So different goods have different prices. Nowadays the market is flooded with various types of goods. So if we go to a supermarket, or even if we take a walk along the road, we see the vegetable vendors selling many different types of vegetables, flowers, fruits. And in the supermarket we find many different types of products being sold. It's flooded with various types of goods. So we have to make a choice before purchasing any good. So we have to choose what we want, what we have a need for. But just making a choice or selecting a particular good to purchase is not enough. But just making a choice is not enough. When we go to the market, we carry certain amount of money which we use to buy the goods and services. So to purchase the goods, we carry a certain amount of money. As consumers in the market, we consume the product that the market sells. As consumers in the market, we decide to purchase certain amount of goods or combination of various goods depending on the amount of money we have. So depending on the amount of money we have, we make a choice which good to buy, which service to buy, and so on. The price we have to pay depending on the amount of money we have, the price we have to pay, our liking for the goods, etc. So buying the goods depends on various factors, depends on the amount of money we have, the price for the goods we want to buy, our liking for the goods, etc. All these things are involved in the study of demand, which depicts our behavior as consumers in the market. So all these factors, the price we have to pay, the amount of money we have, our liking for the goods, all these factors determine or show our behaviors as consumers in the market. 9.1 Meaning of demand. Suppose Varsha went to the market last week and made the following purchases for the week for herself. So the meaning of demand is illustrated with the help of an example. There is a girl called Varsha who goes to the market, who went to the market last week and made the following purchases for the week. So she bought 1 kg of rice at 25 rupees per kg, 0.5 half kg of atar dal, pulses at 68 rupees per kg, 1 kg of wheat flour at 24 per kg, and 2 kgs of mangoes at 50 per kg. Whenever one purchases a good in the market, he or she has to pay the given price for it, and accordingly buy certain quantity for consumption during the given time period, the way Varsha did. So whenever anyone purchases good in the market, he or she has to pay the given price to buy a certain quantity for consumption in the given time period. given time period is 1 week, and the quantity of consumption is given as 1 kg of rice, half kg of atta dal, 1 kg of wheat, 2 kgs of mangoes. And just in this way, anyone should purchase the way Varsha did. Definition of demand. Demand for good is defined as the quantity of the good purchased at a given price at a given time. So, demand is defined as a quantity of good purchased at a given price at a given time. So this has to be kept in mind, definition of demand, because they may ask what the definition of demand is. So to explain this definition, we can express above mentioned examples to show the different components of demand as follows. So there are 4 goods bought: rice, asar dal, wheat flour, and mangoes. The price per kg of each is rice at 25, atta dal at 68, wheat flour at 24, and mangoes at 50. And the quantity of each is 1 kg of rice, half kg of atta dal, 1 kg of wheat flour, 2 kgs of mangoes. So the time period is 1 week. So thus the definition of demands includes the 3 components. So from this table we see that definition of demands includes 3 components: price of the commodity, quantity of the commodity bought, and time period. Now the time period may vary. This can be week, month, year, etc. So the examples of demand as given above can be written as: Varsha purchased 1 kg of rice at 25 rupees per kg last week for a week. This is the demand for rice by Varsha. Varsha purchased 2 kgs of mangoes at 50 rupees per kg last week. This is the demand for mangoes by Varsha, and so on. Now read the following examples. Nitin bought 2 pairs of shoes last month. Mr. Jaffrey purchased 5 kgs of apples at 40 rupees per kg. Miss Harmit Kaur paid 25 rupees per liter for milk last month. Are these examples of demand? No. You can see that in the case of Nitin, price of a pair of shoes is not given. In case of Mr. Jaffrey, time period is not mentioned. Finally, in case of Miss Harmit Kaur, quantity of milk consumed is not given. In text questions 9.1, define demand. So, demand for a good is defined as the quantity of the good purchased at a given price at a given time. Second question, name the 3 components included in the definition of demand. So the 3 components included in the definition of demand are price of the commodity, quantity of the commodity bought, and time period. Next, 9.2, difference between demand and desire. On many occasions, people confuse between desire and demand and use them interchangeably. So the 2 words, desire and demand, are used interchangeably. In fact, these are 2 different terms, but there is a difference between demand for a good and desire for a good. Demand is desire backed by ability to purchase. Demand means you must have the ability to purchase, that is, you must have the ability to pay a given price. You must be able to pay a certain amount of money to get the good. This means that if somebody desires to have a good, she can demand it if she has the money to purchase it by paying its price. Anyone can desire any good or service. Once a price is paid by the person, but just desiring something, one cannot have it without paying the price. So desire means you can want the good, but if you don't have the money to pay for it, that remains a desire and not a demand. Once price is paid by the person who has desired it, only then it becomes the demand for the good by the person. Take the example given above once again. Varsha purchased 2 kgs of mangoes at rupees 50 per kg last week. This is the demand for mangoes by Varsha. Had Varsha desired to have mangoes but could not pay the price to buy, then it would have been said as Varsha's desire but not demand for mangoes. Factors affecting demand, individual demand, 9.3. Individual demand refers to the quantity of commodity that an individual buyer is willing to buy at a given price per unit of time. Individual demand means the quantity of a commodity that a single buyer is willing to buy at a given time, at a given price. But how much quantity of a commodity one is willing to buy depends on the following factors. These are also called determinants of demand. These are price of the commodity, price of related goods, income of the buyer, taxes, tastes and preferences of the buyer. So, how much quantity of the good one is willing to purchase depends on the price of the commodity, price of related goods. So if there are 3 varieties of mangoes available at 50 rupees per kg, 40 rupees per kg and 60 rupees per kg, then the price of these related goods also plays a part in individual demand. Income of the buyer. So if the income of the buyer is not so high, then and the 40 rupees per kg of mango may be bought. If the income is higher, then the 60 rupees per kg may be bought. So taste and preferences of the buyer. So it also depends on which mango the buyer prefers to purchase. Let us discuss these factors one by one. Price of the commodity. When you visit a market to buy a commodity, you go to a seller of the commodity and ask for its price first. If you think that the price is reasonable, you buy the required quantity of the commodity. So if the price is affordable or if it's within your budget, then you can buy the required quantity of the commodity. On the other hand, if the price is higher, in your opinion, you may not buy or buy less quantity of it. So if the price is higher, then you may purchase a lower quantity or may not buy the commodity at all. Generally, we are willing to buy more quantity of a commodity at a lower price and less of it at a higher price if all other factors determining demand remain constant. Prices of related goods. The demand for a commodity is also illustrated by the prices of its related goods. Related goods can be of 2 types: substitute goods, complementary goods. Substitute goods are those goods which can easily be used in place of each other. Example of substitute goods are Coke and Pepsi, tea and coffee. If price of coffee increases, people will demand more of tea, and the demand for tea will increase. If price of coffee falls, people will demand more of coffee, and the demand for tea will fall. So the demand for a commodity is directly related to the price of its substitute goods. On the other hand, complementary goods are the goods which are used together in satisfying a particular want. Examples of complementary goods are car and petrol, ball pen and refill. If you have a car, you can also require petrol to run it. Imagine if price of petrol rises, what will happen to the demand for car? Demand for car will decrease. If the price of one of them increases, the demand for the other will decrease. And if the price of one of them falls, the demand for the other will increase. So demand for a commodity is inversely related to the price of its complementary goods. Third factor affecting individual demand is income of a buyer. The demand for a commodity also depends on the income of the buyer. When your income increases, you're likely to spend more on purchase of some goods, such as food, fruits, full cream, milk, butter, etc. Such goods are normal goods. Normal goods are those goods whose demand increases with the increase in income. So the demand for normal goods is directly related to the income of the buyer. But there are some goods whose demand decreases when income of the buyer increases, such as jowar, bajra, toned milk, etc. These goods are called inferior goods, so demand for inferior goods is inversely related to the income of the buyer. Inversely related means as the income increases, the demand for the inferior goods will decrease. Taste preferences and fashion. Taste preferences and fashion are important factors which affect the demand for a commodity. For example, if Monica prefers jeans and tops in comparison to salwar and kameez, her demand for jeans and tops will increase. So demand for those goods increases which are preferred by the buyer or which are in fashion. On the other hand, demand for those goods decreases which are not preferred by the buyer or which are out of fashion.